Welcome to the Amp Hour. I'm Dave Jones from the EEV blog.
And I'm Fran Blanche from the Fran Lab.
Hey, Fran, we're back. When was the last time you were on?
I think it was like 4 years ago or something.
Yeah, something like that. I'm looking, we don't have dates. I think we just have episode numbers. 263. We're up to now 540. So, yeah, that was, probably 5 years ago now. Sorry for the delay getting you back.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me.
That's all right.
It's always good to be on the Amp Hour. Although I think I think I've been on twice officially. One time it was with you and Chris Gamble.
Mm-hmm.
But the first time, I think it was because I was the first guest host to the Amp Hour.
Oh,
way back.
Yes, that's right.
And as I recall, we went a little over time. I think it was like 2 hours, 15 minutes.
Right.
So.
All right. Well, we'll try and keep this way. We do try and keep it to an hour these days. We're reasonably strict. All right. Oh, old school. What's that? Fob watch. Is it called a fob watch there?
Well, this is a stopwatch.
Right. Oh, okay. Oh, it's a stopwatch. Okay.
Yeah,
but a pocket watch, is a pocket watch called a fob watch?
We call it a pocket watch. But a pocket watch does have a fob. This is actually the fob, the thing that holds the, so a pocket watch can have a fob, but we call them pocket watches.
Okay, because if you've got pants, right.
Yeah, right.
But if you've got fans, it comes with a fob pocket, which is like a change pocket, which is the one I keep my knife in.
It comes with a faux, they call it the watch pocket, but it's too small for any watch. Actually, when I get my pants custom made, and I tried to get them to make me a watch pocket big enough for my pocket watch, and they couldn't do it. They just couldn't understand the idea that an actual watch had to fit in this pocket. And I gave them the dimensions and everything. I told them the tolerance, and it just didn't work out. But yeah, but yes, every pocket watch has a fob.
Got it. There you go. We've learned something already, and we're only a couple of minutes in.
So I've been enthralled by your recent videos about the solar panels and your new solar panels.
Oh, yes. Thank you. And, you don't have... Oh, no, because you rented...
Yeah. I tried in the old lab. I had a roof. It was a duplex, but I had a roof, and I had a really good footprint in that old building. So I tried to get them to let me put solar panels on the roof because I could have easily put 5 kilowatts up there.
Nice.
But
they wouldn't let you.
No, they wouldn't let me do it.
Wow. Okay. Even if you paid for it.
Yeah, didn't matter.
Wow. So even if you left, were they afraid you're going to take them with you and there'd be all holes in their roof and whatever?
It's Philly. I mean, they don't even let you. Most buildings in this town, they don't even let you put a satellite dish up. So.
Wow! Really?
Yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot of just you can't do it just because.
Great.
But I wish I did own a property where I could, put up some solar, because it's the way you described a couple videos ago is that at this point it's basically free.
It's basically free, yeah, pretty much. If you install like a lower cost system, your payback period's incredibly low. But if you buy like all the top quality stuff, your payback period's longer, but still it's like 5 years tops or something, and then it's free after that. And the solar panels last forever.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're running a lot of electricity, I guess there would be some kind of a curve with how much you generate versus how much you use versus what you pay normally.
Yep. How much do you pay in Philly?
Actually, it's pretty cheap. That's one of the benefits of Philly is the electric is pretty cheap. I mean, it's Philly is mostly natural gas. The grid is the way the grid is set up. Well, Philly used to be all coal years ago, and fortunately they shut down all the coal plants, but they've converted everything to natural gas. So it's probably like 90% of the power in the city is natural gas. Wow. Which I like you, the way you go to task with people with solar roadways, because people say that you're against solar, but you're actually very pro solar. You're just realistic solar. I used to have the same argument with people I used to go, at the supermarket, they'd have these booths set up as green energy, because a few years ago, they passed a law in Pennsylvania where you could choose your utility, where the PICO basically got deregulated to be they got to be a provider utility. So they provide your electric service, but exactly who you pay for your generation, they made it an open market. So these green energy companies came in the market, which is great. But the way that they sold it in the city was they'd set up, kiosks everywhere, usually these young eager volunteers.
Yeah, right.
And they'd say, buy green energy, you'll be 100% green. You get this green energy, you'll be off coal, you'll be off everything. I said, it doesn't work that way. I said, it's just, and I tried to explain to them that, he said, no, it's on the grid. You buy it over here. I said, no, it doesn't work that way. It's like you're not using electrons that are being generated by by a wind farm 1,000 miles away. I said you're investing in a green energy generator, which I think is good.
You're investing in the infrastructure. Yep.
Exactly. You're supporting green energy, but you're not using green energy. I said you're still using natural gas and a little nuclear.
But still, that's better than nothing, because I've been buying green power, as we call it here, for 15, 18 years, ever since it first came out. And we pay like 5 to 6 cents per kilowatt hour extra for green infrastructure. And it's fully audited. And we actually read the audit, because my wife's an environmental scientist, and we're all green and everything. So yeah, we haven't done it for a long time, but we used to read the audit reports of where our money actually went to, and they were actually installing wind farms and the whole lot. But yeah, you're not actually using the electrons from that wind farm, but you're paying for new infrastructure to go on, which is better than nothing.
It's better than nothing. I support the idea of supporting these companies, but the problem is that in Philadelphia, absolutely none of that energy gets here.
Right? No, of course.
I mean, no, because you have the inverse square law with load and everything. So, like 95% of the power that's used in Philadelphia is generated within 10, 15 miles of the city limits. So it's.
That's the thing. We've got so much solar here because the government did such a solar roof rebate thing that everyone took it up. You used to get paid 50 cents per kilowatt hour for feeding back into the grid, and the solar system was subsidized. It was a gravy train. So we had, within a couple of years, we had 10% of the country on solar, of homes on solar, and now it's like 30% or something. The number of homes here with solar is insane.
There's currently they're trying to get a few companies. They're trying to get a cluster of wind turbine farms built off the coast in New Jersey, but they're meeting a lot of resistance from people who don't want them around, which I don't get. I don't see anything ugly about wind turbines.
I think they're majestic.
I think they look beautiful.
Yeah, I totally agree.
It's like you see this huge turbine miles out to sea. It's like it's mesmerizing.
Yep.
But yeah, I think it's the basic idea that in America people fear change.
Right.
They don't want anything to change, even if it's good.
We don't mind change here as long as it goes into our pocket.
Well, but you're a much newer nation. Australia is a much newer nation.
It is, but electric cars, for example, the uptake of electric cars here is like nothing. They almost don't exist here, but it's because the government doesn't subsidize it, so they're massively expensive here because we have to import them.
But you also have vast expanses of open country and
such. We do, but most people live in the cities. I don't know how many 98% of people live in the 5 major cities it's a bit of a myth that everyone drives 500 kilometers a day to work. It's kind of I think the average distance people actually here in Sydney is like 25 30 kilometers or something to and from work. So it's not huge. So an EV can do suit almost everyone. It's just a matter of price, really. So, Whereas you guys in the US, like it, you know, you can almost get an EV for free over there. It's like they're so subsidized. It's like a no-brainer in certain states.
Certain
Anyway,
states, yeah.
yeah.
It's certainly not free in Philadelphia.
Right. So
Gosh.
what's happened since the last time you were on? Have you changed labs since the last time?
Yeah.
And you've been flooded and you've been... So how long have you been in the current lab?
A year plus, 2 years. 2 years. Plus maybe a month.
And you've got some industrial pipe work in the background. For those who don't know, yes, you can watch this. We are recording video for this, so it will be up on the EEV Blog 2 channel.
Yeah, it's a ferroconcrete structure, so it's all cement, cement with iron.
And is that ventilation?
That's ventilation, yeah.
Right, I was going to say they're ports. Right, okay. And that just pushes air from outside in?
No, it's actually the air.
Oh, it sucks out.
Circulates around, but it's a ferroconcrete. That was one of my very difficult requirements in finding a new lab. Is the floor had to support the weight of it. I mean, I've got these. You probably can't see. I got these massive steel racks back here.
Yeah,
they've got tons of gear, and I knew I'd have to have like lots of weight concentrated in small footprints. You know, so.
Are you up several floors, or are you like in a high rise?
Up, you know, yeah, I'm in the middle of an industrial building now. Whereas in the old lab, I was sort of by myself. It was sort of a paradise.
It's right. So it's an industrial building. It's not a residential.
It's an old factory. Well, it's been divided into semi. It's like a live work building. So, you know, I choose to do both. So I live in my lab. So I forgo all personal space. No couch.
So does anyone else actually live in the building, or is it just...
Oh, yeah. Other people live in the building.
Right. Okay.
You know, other people have businesses in the building. It's sort of a mishmash. Recording studios and, you know, photo shops and stuff like that. Well, some people just live in the building, but it's a lot of live works, you know. That's why I came here. It's just sort of, it was the best compromise I could do given all of the circumstances and the limited time frame I had to get out of the other place.
Yeah, that's right, because you were booted
they were
out
tearing it down.
post-haste.
They were tearing it down while I was in there.
Literally around you.
Literally.
Yeah. Everyone was following those videos. That was like, it was morbidly fascinating how it was being deconstructed around you.
It was awful.
I know it was awful. Some people, you'll have to forgive me, but I couldn't help but laugh sometimes that they were literally tearing it down around you. It was just it was almost comical that was allowed and happening.
Well, yeah. Well, I called it the Brooklyn pushout, because that's what they do in New York.
Yeah.
When they want to, you know, make buildings go condo, they push out renters by just starting to demolish the building and the other apartments around them and just make it as unlivable as possible.
But you're allowed to stay. We're not pushing you out. You're allowed to. You're welcome to stay as long as you like.
That's why they call it the Brooklyn pushout.
Brooklyn pushout, yep. Unbelievable. So are you like, is it just the one big level there? Because it almost looks like you're in a basement kind of thing.
I'm all on one level. Well, this used to be an old like a sewing building. So,
okay.
You know, but it's all one. I'm all on one level. The old place was a duplex. I had 2 floors, so I had the lab upstairs, the office downstairs, my sewing shop downstairs. So it was very like compartmentalized. Here, everything is just stacked on top of one another. So everything's like, you know, compressed here. It's, you know, a little claustrophobic. Right. I mean, you can see I
was going to say, you seem a bit cramped.
Like I said, there's no couch, no living room.
Oh, no.
No den.
Oh, no.
Just, you know, I live in the shop.
Wow. That is commitment. I'm not allowed to live in my lab. It's against the strata terms and conditions here. You can't, you know, live. But I guess there's nothing stopping me working 24/7, technically. But, you know, if they ever found that somebody was living in the we have showers here. Like I could technically, you know, if I get booted out, I'm saying this is the backup plan. I'll be working 24/7.
Yeah, it's your
Yep.
lem.
Right. Yes, it's
It's
my
your lem.
lifeboat. Yep.
Yeah.
That's it.
But in the U.S. We've got we have commercial buildings that are strictly commercial like that, and residential. But in the cities and in some rural areas, there's another level of zoning which is mixed use.
Ah, yes.
And so this is a mixed building is mixed use. So it's also called live work mixed, but it's technically the zoning is mixed use. So it's a combination of people who live, people who work. Some do both.
Yeah,
I do both.
we've got
I
that
do
here as
both.
well.
Plus, it helps me on the tax side to limit my living space to 0. So
Oh, right. Because, yeah, okay. So that sounds like very much here. You can only claim a percentage. If you work from home, you can only claim a percentage that is your workshop or your office. You
right,
can't
yeah, I
claim the
I
whole
don't
thing.
work from home. I live in my workshop.
Shop. Yes, right. So as far as the tax department's concerned, you're homeless. It does.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Well, the work is all up here, so I'm never
Yeah.
off clock. I never
Yep.
clock out.
Join the club. But yeah, YouTubers just don't clock out, do we? People don't realize it's a
No,
24/7 job. You're always thinking about it. Really, it's
I'm
hard to.
working. Yeah, it's just there's so many levels to it. From if it's not just about what you're doing, you're planning. A dozen videos ahead, planning things, working on things now that you won't shoot for a month or 2 months. Getting, it's this endless like supply chain of ideas and things, and I wake when I wake up in the morning. I get up before I even put on the kettle. I I hit the sleep on the computer, get it booted up, so that by the time I have my tea, I'm sitting down and
Yeah, you're going.
I'm
You're
in the
answering
office.
comments, and you're
You know, as soon as I'm awake, and then when I'm going to sleep, it's the same thing. When I'm fading off to sleep, I'm thinking of work. It's
Yep.
just
Wow.
doesn't stop.
How are the finances? Because you raised that was it a Kickstarter or an Indiegogo? I can't
It was
remember.
a GoFundMe.
A GoFundMe. That's right.
Yeah,
Yep.
GoFundMe for the eviction, and was very
That's right.
successful.
Yep.
It was, and I made a video after the fact showing the total breakdown of costs and expenses and everything, and
That's
showed
right.
that
I remember that.
if I wouldn't have gotten that GoFundMe, because
Yeah.
when the GoFundMe came in, I thought it was a ridiculously huge amount of money, but it turns out that I needed every bit of it to make it happen, because it wasn't just the cost of the move; it was also the time that I was shut down, and also the tremendous amount of money that I had to put down just to secure a space, because
That's right.
I
Yep.
had to put up $11,500
Oh.
down
Oh.
just to secure the space to rent
And
it.
and that's dead money in terms of cash flow. You'll get it back if you
Right.
move,
Well,
but
I get it back over time.
oh, you do you? That's different
Yeah.
to here. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's yeah, because I mean, I negotiated a very fair lease. I mean, it worked out good in the long run, but it was very, very heavy up front.
Yeah, wow, 11. That's what I paid. I paid 10,000 Aussie bucks here, which is probably about 8,000 US at the time.
But you own
And
that space, don't
oh
you?
no, this was the one I was renting. This was the
Okay.
This was when I moved into the 100 square, like the double size unit. I was renting that, and I got a 2-year lease, and
Yeah.
I had $10,000 tied up in that, which you don't get back until you move.
That's another part of it people don't realize about YouTube is the overhead for having a shop and and everything. People don't realize just how much it costs to have just a space to work
Yeah,
in.
to do stuff. I know. And you need, and the kind of stuff we work on, like we need a decent amount of stuff. It's not just like one little desk with a computer and a multimeter and something, It's like, yeah.
Well, I'm
It's
actually
nuts.
I'm renting 3 different properties right now, because I've got this shop, I've got the wood shop that I haven't been in a year
I was
because of
going to ask
COVID.
about those. Yep.
Yeah, because the wood shop, I got my wood shop, sewing and painting shop all in the same building, but it's a communal floor. So
Right.
I haven't been able to work over there during COVID because there's like a dozen other people working in that space, and it just hasn't been safe. But now I've gotten vaccinated and stuff, so now I'm back over at the factory. I'm cleaning it up, I'm going to get back to work after a year, but I'm renting those spaces, and of course I have the vault, which is just 100% storage, just like you've got your vault. So
I got two now. I got two.
Yeah,
If you haven't seen my recent announcement video,
yeah, I saw you scored a new vault.
I did score a new vault in the building, in the basement of this building. So yeah. I don't need it, but it's vastly more convenient than the one which is elsewhere in the business park. And it's like, yeah, I can walk there, but like try and cart, things to and from and stuff like that. So it's just, no. I have occasionally like wheeled the trolley down the main road, with like stuff on it. Like, I just look like I drag my Sinclair C5, because it's not operational. So I drag my Sinclair C5 down the main road. Here I am. It's like, it's crazy. But no, you can't have too much storage space. So I'm glad I nabbed that. Now, they're very rare. Like there's over 50 offices in this building, and there's like 3 storage units. So, it's rare as hen's teeth. And once people get them, they don't want to sell them. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a penthouse in New York. You can't just get one.
Right. Okay. Yeah, people never want to sell. Yeah, it's nuts. But that'll be good. Hopefully it doesn't just fill up, junk expands to fill space available. But
I have a feeling you will have much less prejudice about what you acquire. Yes, that you have extra room.
Exactly. which is a good thing, because like I get like big things that are mid repair. Like I've got a giant TV at the moment that's mid repair, but I've got other videos that I want to do. So it's something that I want to get back to, but I can't keep here in this smaller lab, So it's like, where do I put it? Okay, it goes down the storage room. Great, until I'm ready to work on it. You're laughing because it'll still be there in 20 years' time, and I haven't worked on it.
After the apocalypse, it'll be Dave Jones and that half-repaired television.
That's it.
It's sadly in the news. Michael Collins, the third man.
Yes, just the other day.
Away.
Yes, he did.
Yep.
Yep, that was sad. He was he had a great sense of humor. If you've ever seen interviews with him and stuff, he's a really cool dude. Yep.
Did you meet him, or you met?
No, I met Gene Cernan.
Gene Cernan, right?
Gene Cernan, Apollo 17, last man to set foot on the moon. Yep. And then he died like 12 months after I met him, or 9 months after I met him, or something. So yeah, they're going quick.
Few and far between now.
There's not many moonwalkers left, or even like Apollo astronauts, because there were 12 that walked on the moon, and I think 20 total. That
it'll be it'll just be Buzz pretty soon.
Yeah, probably. He's still going. I've got my signed. There's my signed Buzz Aldrin print over there. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've got the very same picture in my office.
Signed by Buzz himself. So.
Oh, it's yours just signed.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I got it from his official thing. I got a photo of him signing it, and official certificate and everything. Yep. So it's the real deal, and it's like a canvas. It's not like a it's one of the high quality canvas prints. It's not just a paper thing. So
yeah,
really nice.
Everybody wanted to get an Al Bean, but
I wanted an Alan Bean. I should have bought one like a decade ago. Now
they're unattainable.
Yep.
Unattainable.
I know. I should have like shelled out. But back when I was looking, they were still like $50,000, from like an Alan Bean.
They were never cheap. Well, they were never cheap because he put like real moon dust in them.
Real moon dust in the photos. That's right. Oh, yep. I lusted after one of those, but I can't justify $50,000 for a painting. But it would have been a good investment. Like, if I really thought about it,
probably worth 5 times.
Yep.
Now, what you paid for it.
Yep. I should have shelled out $50,000 and did it. But oh well, God.
Woulda, shoulda, coulda. In my world, the Pedal movie dropped last week.
Oh yes, I have not seen it. How much are you in it?
Like about that much.
Oh, right. Oh, okay. Right. How is it, like a full-length movie? Is it like an hour and a half or something? Or
2 hours, 25 minutes.
Wow, epic.
So 2 hours, 25 minutes. I'm in it for like 50 seconds. So.
Oh, that's all right.
Well, you wouldn't even see me if you scan the YouTube.
Oh,
bar.
okay, right.
It wouldn't even come up.
Oh, damn it. So where can people watch it if they
It's on Blulu and Yib Yab and Zibzorb and I don't. It's on a bunch of streaming apps that I have never heard of.
Right. Got it. So it's not on Amazon Prime or one of the majors. It's not on
No, I don't think they wanted to pay any money.
Netflix or anything. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because that's not free. You know.
No, right. No, have to pay money for content. Shock horror.
Yeah.
And here we are just giving it away. We just
giving it away.
Oh,
how do we make any money?
Idiots.
Volume.
That's it. Yep.
It's like that free energy video I did.
Yeah, that was good. Oh, I like that. Yep. So did you get any, you wouldn't have got any, crazies on there because it wasn't a legit
snarky
video.
Well, I started it's interesting. After YouTube allowed filters, I started just banning the crazies years ago, and it's amazing the inverse curve when you start to squeeze out the trolls. It's just you just don't get many. It's like because it's like if you let a few trolls, then all you have is trolls. It's just it becomes like a troll fest. But you squeeze out a few of the really like aggressive actors, and it's just they just don't. There's just the trolls disappear.
Yep, so, I know. It's great.
It's like magic.
They feed on each other. It's a
yeah. It's like a positive feedback, only it's negative.
They're a self-replicating mechanism. They're a self-replicating life form. Trolls.
It's like antimatter positive feedback.
So what are you working on at the moment? What's your latest thing? What's your next video?
Oh, the next video I'm shooting tomorrow. I've been working for the last week building animation for this movie machine that I'm going to build tomorrow. So I'll have a video up about that. But it took a week for me to storyboard and work out the animation and draw all the cells, and 48. It's a loop of 48 different drawings. But if I didn't screw anything up, it should look okay. But I won't really know if it worked until I actually load it tomorrow and run it. So
got it.
Who knows?
Oh,
but yeah, I'm doing
looking forward to it.
No, I've got some unobtainium. It's weird
because unobtainium.
I got some unobtainium on the table. I got a few really just like amazing things in the past like 6 months, and I've just been trying to figure out how to get videos together, because it's one thing to have like a really amazing item. It's another thing to be able to make a video about it. And some of the things that I end up getting are amazing, but I sit on them for long periods of time because I'm just struggling to figure out how I'm going to present it.
Well, yeah, and you've probably got to build something to make it work, and make it do something that's worthwhile to show. Otherwise, you just sit in front of the camera and go, "Well, here it is. Isn't this fun?" It's it's ancient, but
always
there you go. See you next time.
I had this 3-digit incandescent display I put up a couple weeks ago, and it took me 2 days to build the hardware driver just to demonstrate it.
Yeah.
But I had that display for the better part of a year, and I knew that it was going to be very painful to build a driver to present it, so I just kept putting it off until I could knuckle down and just do it. But I've got a bunch of things like that. I've got boxes of displays that I'm dying to show, but it's like, man, it's gonna. I just really don't want to put in the work.
Yeah, I know. Join the club
to get it working. But every one of these displays, of which I now have like a dozen boxes of things in there that I want to show, but each one of them is a difficult project, and I'm just really, with the pandemic and everything, especially being in Philly where it was really tough, because we had a very serious problem in Philly for that, and we were basically in lockdown for a year. And so I was dealing with, there was so much to deal with just daily life, because for many months, like 6 months, there were massive shortages. You couldn't get food, you couldn't get anything. I would go to the supermarket you'd have to wait in line for an hour to queue to get in. Like it reminded me of the movies I used to see, the footage I used to see on the news in the 80s of Soviet supermarkets, you know, where
Right.
people wait all
Yeah.
day and they
Yep.
get in there and it'd be aisles and aisles of empty shelves with like one jar of something inedible on it. But it was like that for months, you know.
Wow.
We couldn't buy food. In fact, it got so desperate because we couldn't buy any canned goods, couldn't buy any bread, eggs, and I mean, basically the only food you could buy was like shit food, like potato, like maybe a bag of off-brand potato chips or something. But you can't live on that. So it actually got to the point where my family, my sister and my mother, way out in the country, they were buying groceries where they could get them and shipping and bringing them to me.
I was going to say,
so
yeah,
because there was no food to be bought. But it was, you know, and we had several uprisings in Philly because of other issues not related to the pandemic, which caused businesses to get shut down and shuttered, and it was a very trying time, not just because of the pandemic, but living in the city. So I was overwhelmed with just like surviving 2020 and keeping my head in work. It was tough, but now it's gotten to the point where I got vaccinated. You can buy toilet paper again. So I'm not thinking about just the brute survival stuff. And it's been weird because I've been able to shift my brain into working again, and I'm not just spending my days and nights thinking about where the fuck am I going to get a loaf of bread.
Unbelievable. I just can't comprehend it because we had nothing like that here.
No, we had, I think to date it's like somewhere in like 560,000 people died of COVID last year in the U.S. So it's getting close to 600,000. So
we're not even 4 digits, like, you know. And if we didn't have one outbreak, it'd be barely 3 digits.
Well, you handled it right at the beginning. You know, I mean, you did everything. You had an organized attack on the situation early on.
Yep.
And we did not.
But we also famously made news around the world for, you know, during lockdowns, everyone just went to the beach. You know, it's like it was front page news around the world. You know, these bunch of Yahoo Aussies were just not giving a shit and just going to the beach. So, yeah. But as it turns out, the research seems to show that that's not a problem. So hence why it didn't. Yeah, it just made us look dumb, but you know, at least we survived, I guess. But yeah, there's other factors at play as well. Our population density and all sorts of other stuff. We probably get a lot more sun and all sorts of things.
And you got a warmer climate
help
too.
Contribute. Oh, warmer climate. The whole works. Yeah. But even during winter here, we didn't have a problem. There was no winter wave. There was no winter flare up. So
how cold does it get down there in the wintertime?
Oh, a cold day here would be 12 degrees Celsius or something, you know, like a really bitterly cold, you know. Oh no, it's
it's like you put a jacket on.
Yep. Oh yes. Yes, I might have to put jeans and a jumper on, maybe.
Oh.
You know, on the coldest winter days. But no, during winter here, I'm in Sydney, I'm still, you know, t-shirt. So yeah. No,
it really doesn't get cold. Yeah, it really doesn't get cold anymore. I mean, when I was a kid, I mean, it got cold. Like, I do remember. I think when I was in high school, there was a winter. It was around somewhere around New Year's. It got to minus 80 degrees Fahrenheit with the wind chill. It was like minus 80 Fahrenheit. Yeah.
What's that? I don't even want to know.
It was like Arctic Circle cold.
Oh yes, that's minus 62 Celsius. Holy crap! Yeah, that's like you'll die if you don't. You know, you'll die in 5 minutes if you don't kind of have appropriate protection.
Yeah, wow. But it used to get really cold. It doesn't anymore. I don't know why. It just doesn't get cold anymore in the wintertime. So we don't really have winter here anymore. It doesn't even really snow. It just kind of rains every now and then.
Oh, okay. So it used to snow in Philly.
Oh, we used to get crazy snow, like 6 feet,
Right.
8 feet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
But
I don't,
yeah.
all
But
these
no,
foreign
it doesn't
concepts.
get cold in the wintertime anymore. It just sort of, it just kind of gets to autumn and just kind of stays there until summer happens, where spring used to be.
Right.
So,
All these foreign things like this white powdered stuff, I just don't understand why anyone lives in a place like where this happens. I don't get it. You know, people shoveling snow out of their driveway so they can go to work. Like, what is this strange planet you live on? I don't get it.
oh, I should mention that, you being a senior member of the IEEE,
Oh, yes.
and I being a senior member of the IEEE, that we're
Yep. Secret handshake, out of
Secret
camera
handshake.
frame. Out of camera frame. Yep.
I threw my back out the first time I tried that.
You did it. Yeah.
I'm still just trying to get over the blood initiation. That freaked me
Oh,
out. I was not expecting
that's
that.
really scary. That was
Things you got to do.
Yeah, you weren't. I can't believe, like, the president, the IEEE president, was going to sponsor you.
Yeah,
That must have been a huge surprise.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming in a long shot. I spent like a month trying to get like one other person other than you to sponsor me.
Right.
And then it's just like I had a flood.
And then a flood happens. Yeah, typical. I thought, like, I didn't know anyone who's a senior member, and then all of a sudden all these people came out of the woodwork. Oh yeah, I'm a senior member, you know, I'll help you out, you know. So it's like, yeah, I had no idea, because nobody advertises it, really. You know, people don't go around with their senior member t-shirt, you know, or whatever.
Yeah,
so,
I don't know. You think they would? I mean, the fringe benefits are great.
Engineer, do you guys have any other organizations there in the US? Any other engineering organizations? Because we have Engineers Australia here, which used to be the Institute of Engineers Australia, but then they rebranded to just Engineers Australia. But nobody it's only for like the mechanical, mining, building people. Like, nobody in our industry is a member. Like, It's just, I don't get it. Is there any other, or is the IEEE sort of the major engineering? Because there's got to be other ones for like building and construction and mechanical people, surely.
Well, there are a lot of guilds. There are countless guilds and organizations and trade organizations. People in what they call the trades, for plumbers, electricians, builders, bricklayers. There's, you name it. There's lots of organizations. A lot of the organizations in the U.S. are very old ones. You know, the Masons still have their thing.
Yep.
In fact, Philly is like a big hub of masonry, and I was very disappointed because I had a friend who's a Mason, and I was like, well, I want to be a Freemason. He said, well, you're never going to be a Freemason because it's for men only. So it's like,
right.
well, so
is it really?
Yeah, always has been.
Oh,
which is really sucks.
I used to work with a woman who was a Mason.
Yeah, but you can be a Mason, but you can't be a Freemason.
Oh, there's a difference. Oh,
well, a Mason is anyone who lays bricks and works with cement, but a Freemason is in the order of Freemasonry. So, but when I started learning that that people who were in the Freemason groups in Philly, that they were getting a lot of work. And it just seemed unfair that, if you want to get this kind of work, you got to be a Freemason, but you can't be a Freemason if you're not a guy. So a bit of a closed door. But I was very honored and surprised to get the SMIEEE.
That's great. What I discovered, like, just the other day, I don't know how I ended up, you're surfing Wikipedia, right? And you end up, like, I don't know how I got there, but there was like, there's a bronze ring or something, an engineer's bronze ring. You can look it up.
Bronze ring.
Bronze ring. And it's for this engineering, there's various engineering organization, engineers ring. There it is. Engineers, if you search wiki for engineers ring, there's a stainless steel engineer's ring, and there's these bronze rings, and it's all these universities. They've got like secret engineer societies in the US, and they present you with your bronze ring, and when you graduate, and all sorts of other bizarre kind of things like that. I had no idea. I just stumbled across this, but it's on Wiki, so it must be true. So, yeah. Engineers rings. I don't know.
Gee, I wonder what the hazing's like for the steel ring. And you have to suck on the mains or something like that, or
right? Yeah, tongue. You got to put the mains on your tongue. So yeah, I don't get it. But it got me thinking though. Like about like engineers' creeds and things like that. And I looked for those as well. Like there's various engineers' creeds. Like I will engineers. Here we go. I'll look it up. I will. Here we go. The engineers' creed. This one. Who does this one come from? Hang on. Engineers' creed. The NSPE Engineers' Creed. No idea who that is. The Engineering Profession Ethics Lecture. To give the utmost of performance, to participate in none but honest enterprise, to live and work according to the laws of man and the highest standards of professional conduct, and to place service before profit, the honor of standing of the profession before personal advantage, and the public welfare above all other considerations, in humility and with need for divine guidance. What?
It's a pretty tall order, Dave.
I know. So I was like thinking, could we come up with like an engineer's creed that's not that kind of wanky?
I think they left out temperance and chastity in that list.
Right. Yeah, because that's pretty much guaranteed, isn't it? Oh goodness. And to be like I wanted like some sort of engineer's creed with something along the lines of you're not to spread bullshit, or some other like needs to be worded more elegance, but you're not to promote nor contribute nor engineer bullshit, or something like that. Or known impractical, things with known impractical value. So no solar roadways, because it's just no. Just don't do it.
Batterizer.
It's against the order. The batterizer. Oh, Jesus.
Free energy.
It's real. It's real.
Oh,
we just pretend it's. I don't know. Can we come up? Anyone, leave it in the comments down below, please. Engineer's Creed, or if you've seen a good one that's not completely wanky. And here's another, Stephen Acosta's Engineer's Creed. I pledge to give the utmost performance, honest enterprise, professional conduct, public welfare. Yeah, well, divine guidance again. Holy crap, you can't escape it.
Where's the fun in that?
I know. And of course, you have to swear on the art of electronics. You've got to you have to get the book out.
I've got a first edition, so...
Yeah, well, obviously you have to swear on a first edition.
It actually glows in the distance.
It glows in the corner, yeah.
It's like, and if you get close, it's like, Yes.
Yep. I don't know. Could we come up with something? Let me know.
I think that if we had a list like that, it would have to list explosions.
Okay. Burning, yes, the magic smoke.
Things that have to catch fire.
Yeah. Maybe to join, you have to have blown up something expensive in order to join. Maybe in order to become a senior member. What do you think? You have to have released the magic smoke.
Yeah, you also have to present classic circuit board smell at some point. You have to give an offering of classic smell. Like you have a radio that you take the back off of, and everyone gets in there and goes, ooh. You
have to date it. You've got to date it. You're blindfolded. This is part of the initiation. You're blindfolded, and you have to tell. Yes, and you have to tell the age. You have to tell the decade of the product by the smell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those elastomers and polymers that smell. I would say 68, summer of 68, based on the polyvinyl chloride and and the
Yep.
yes, and the ethanols that I am imbibing. Yeah.
This reminds me, on my list for years now, because I've gotten around to it, is I wanted to find an expert and a local university that can somehow analyze odors, right? And I wanted to actually analyze what makes that vintage electronic smell.
I think it's most, yeah, it's, I've thought about it too. I think it's a combination of things. In radios, one is that they used beeswax to
Oh,
coat a lot
yes.
of the
Yes,
coils
they
and
did.
such. So there's beeswax when it gets older has a very kind of specific sort of organic resiny smell. And combine that with the phenols because those old phenolic boards outgas phenols, and which also the capacitors have some of the chemicals they used for the for the uh,
Electrolyte?
oh yeah, the they used to use the same chemical that was the elastomer that they put in polyvinyl chloride, which causes the green goo problem.
Right.
But when that gets older, it reacts with copper and nickel, and it creates a very specific sort of licorice-like odor. There's some of that. I've got a pilot hi-fi in the other room that it gives off whiffs of licorice smell.
Wow.
And it's this elastomer that's coming out of all the PVC wiring in there. But there's a component of that. I've had some radios recently that started to sweat. I had to remove some parts out of one because the elastomers had started to sweat out of some of the polyvinyl chloride parts, and it was starting to pool in the bottom of the radio. And in the last few years, some of groups of my 1960s electronics have started to just give up the ghost or give up the elastomer because the polyvinyl chloride is starting to disintegrate in lots of things that I own. As like in the last year, I've had to quarantine, I think, half a dozen items, and I had to move some things to storage just because they were stinking too bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like the wiring in a bunch of my antiques just started to go. It's like it's some kind of weird. It's like a time bomb, like chemical time bomb. Some of these plastics, they all seem to go at around the same time.
Yeah.
I also learned that humidity has a lot to do with the acceleration. So higher humidity here than in the other place that I was in, it accelerates. Yeah.
Yep.
It causes the elastomers that are prone to get out of plastics, some of them are accelerated by humidity. It's just sort of,
Got it.
Yep. So
what is that big poster you got in the background? I can't see it. Yeah.
That's a painting, actually.
That's a paint. Oh, okay. It looks like, because everything's so blocky, because when we stream this, you're very blocky. Like everything's just like 144p resolution or something. So, yeah.
See, I don't know if I can do this here because we're doing this on the cameras.
Right. Yeah.
I can.
I thought it was one of those detailed engineering, posters that had, all lots of little detail on it and stuff.
Unfortunately, my computer is all hardwired to a bunch of stuff, so I can't flip it around. Matter. But there's artwork everywhere. I've got like every square inch covered in artwork and stuff.
I saw you went to the Philadelphia. What's the museum there?
Franklin Institute.
The Franklin Institute. That's right. I haven't watched those videos yet, but you looked at the Apollo capsule and the.
I did. Yeah, I did finally make a video with the LEM, just because I just got in there, so I just shot the video and just said, "Fuck it."
No. Yep.
Because I was waiting for 3 years for permission.
That's right. We've talked about this before.
They just wouldn't do it.
They wouldn't give you permission because reasons,
They wouldn't let me in the park, but then because of the COVID, they had the park open, and I went there first thing. I was the only person in the whole museum, and I just went out there and shot it.
Nice.
So,
I'm going to have to watch it now.
Win-win.
That's great. Rub it in. Yep. What are they
So,
going to do? You know, like nothing. You
oh,
didn't damage anything?
I don't know. They've already done the worst. I've already been in with the Smithsonian with the drama that ensued back behind
Yeah.
the scenes when I was down there at the storage facility.
Oh
So
boy.
I definitely have history with them. But yeah,
So
it's
what's happening on the space history front? Anything?
no. I
Because you
mean,
gave
I
up the
don't.
Apollo Disky thing because somebody else had already effectively done it, so you didn't see the
Yeah,
point.
it wasn't worth the work to do my own version of been there, done that. But yeah, I've got other space related projects, most of which I shelved when I was moved out of the old space. So I've got a few that I'd like to finish this year that have just not been finished. But yeah, there will be some space themed projects definitely. So I just really trying to restart the boiler.
Yep. Looking
So
forward to it. What do you think about the rapid, like the last 5 years? 5 years ago nobody gave a toss about space. Now it's like, wow, how many YouTube channels are doing space stuff? There's like
yeah.
thousands of people camped out in front of bloody SpaceX just watching every movement they do. What's your opinion on the whole revival, I guess, of space? Is it like, especially an
Um,
interest in space, because these space YouTubers are getting millions of views?
well, I think to your point, I think it's not. It's not that there is a new interest in space. It's just that millennials discovered space.
Right. Okay.
I mean, that's really all it is. I mean, the people our generation, it never stopped.
No, of
But
course.
all the new YouTube channels, everything you're talking about, it's all millennials, and it's just
Yep.
they've discovered space. And so when millennials discover something, it's seen for the first time. So
Yeah, right. Of course. Yes, obviously it never happened. We weren't
right.
driving electric cars on the moon 50 years ago. No, never. I mean,
We weren't driving
you know,
electric cars on the Earth 100 years ago.
100 years ago. Yeah, exactly. So no, but it's all new because Tesla did it, and because Elon Musk did it, right? So it's like, yeah, we weren't landing rockets, 30 years ago. No.
It's like when you're having a talk with a 20-something, then they've just discovered the Beatles.
All right. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, you discovered the Beatles. Good for you.
Have you seen that movie? Where he goes back, where the world doesn't know about the Beatles?
Yesterday.
Oh, yesterday. Yes, I loved that. I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah. Hamish Patel. I love that film.
That was brilliant. That was absolutely brilliant. Yep. Uh,
Yeah, it was weird. I just saw a film over the weekend. It's another. It's a sci-fi film that Hamish Patel is in, but he has a completely flawless American accent in that one.
all
And
right.
I
Okay.
got flipped around. I was like,
Yeah.
wait,
Yeah.
it just
What?
because those British actors they can turn on the
Yep.
American the no accent American accent. You can't identify where they're from, but it's
Yep.
like
It's still it's
it's
American in quote marks.
it's the pan American accent. Because I mean, because in the U.S., like most places, like it, the British can tell where someone's from, like sometimes like within the block by how they talk. Not just
Yeah.
not just Croydon,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. But
like this corner of
yeah.
Croydon.
Exactly.
But America's sort of like that. I mean, there are so many different accents and dialects in the U.S. that Americans usually tell where someone's from. It used
Well,
to be much more
even I can
specific.
tell a New Jersey accent. I think, like a heavy New Jersey accent, I could probably pick.
Well, even I do not have the traditional Philly Delco accent because I've lived all over, so I struggle to not have an accent, which is also probably why I speak so strangely, because I'm trying not to have like either talk like I'm from Brooklyn or from Philly or from the Dutch country, but it's like a mishmash of Pennsylvania Dutch, Philly, and Brooklyn, like mished. And then I'm trying not to sound like any of those three.
Right. Oh, so you actually actively try to
Well,
do
I'm
it?
basically doing the non-accent accent.
Oh,
Although
okay.
sometimes I when I hear myself recorded, I can hear the,
Yeah.
I can hear that some of that Philly coming through. That oat not gonna go to the ring blown at the Wawa.
Right. We've
Go
we've got a
Eagles!
similar thing here. It's like,
We got the
the
Eagles and
further
the
out west you
Flyers.
go, and yep.
I do not say wooder. That's a stereotype.
Right.
We don't say wooder. No, but I know about the Australian accent. I've seen Mad Max.
Oh, okay. Yeah, of course.
Although interesting, when Mad Max came out in the U.S., I was in high school, I guess, when that came out. But when
What was it,
they released that,
77 or something?
78 here, it was released in the fall of 78. But in America, they overdubbed all the voices, so
Oh, really?
it was like
Oh,
a spaghetti
no.
western,
No.
Yeah.
Is that common over there for Australian
No.
and other foreign movies? No?
No, I think it's kind of weird because now, I mean, these days when it comes on TV, it's always the Australian version.
Oh, okay.
But the American theatrical version, I think somebody got in their head, no one wants to hear these weird accents. No one's going to watch a movie with people talking like that, whatever that is.
Yep. I can remember there's a famous Australian movie, The Castle, it's called, and it's like quintessential Australian movie. And they released it in the US, but they didn't they didn't essentially dub over it, but they replaced a lot of the like there's lots of names of local cars and things like that. And they actually replaced them with American car names so that people would understand the joke. Otherwise people wouldn't get the joke. So I've never seen, I've heard of this version, but I've never watched it. So yeah, apparently it's like sacrilege. Like they've just, dubbed out all the best jokes and Americanized it, bastards. So yeah, oh, unbelievable. Please, anyway, if our audience know of any other movies that have been Americanized,
they don't do that anymore. I mean, it's really something of another time.
Accepted. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess ever since Crocodile Dundee came out, then people accept
all bets were off.
accent.
Yeah, I tell you though, I recently, I guess late last year, I did a series of videos on incandescent 7-segment displays, and it's weird. It's like once you discover incandescent 7-segment displays, you can't unsee them, and
right.
So. Like ever since I've made those videos, especially with the Delcos and the Stanleys, I'm seeing them everywhere. Like every movie made in the 1980s and the 1990s up to like mid 90s, like every single movie that has any kind of scientific 7-segment display, it's always those Delco displays. Like
why is that? Is that
because
they look the part?
No, because they were bright. Because the stage lighting, even when stage lighting looks dim, like just because of the nature of film, like if it's a dimly lit like spaceship and you think that there's like candle lighting, if you were there, it would be like daylight bright, and all the control panels and everything, they're blindingly bright to look kind of like regular bright. So no, but they were using the incandescent 7 segments because they'd show up on film, like the Back to the Future. Oh
yeah, the time display. Yep.
Yeah, they're all incandescents. They're not LED.
Sorry. There it is.
Yeah, the originals are all Stanleys. They're Stanley incandescent 7 segments. They're all light bulbs. And but I found them in everything. I was just watching 2010 again, the really bad sequel to 2001.
Oh right, yeah, it's got some okay bits. I didn't mind, but it's generally.
But I remember Roy Scheider.
Oh yes,
it looked like he had gone to the tannery, like he's like embalmed in that. But there's lots of, like, they're in the Russian spaceship, and all the control panels and stuff, but loaded with those 7-segment incandescent displays. So, but yeah, I've seen them in war games and like everything.
Yeah, it's
but
everywhere.
it pretty much like every weekend I'm watching some 80s era movie. It's like, it's a Stanley, that's a Delco.
Yep. You can't unsee them now.
You can't unsee them now.
People don't realize how bad LED displays were in the 70s and 80s, how like piss weak bright they were. They're just like, you're pumping 20, 30 milliamps through each segment and they're barely lighting up,
Yeah, well, I somewhere someone sent me some of these early HPs. They were the ones that had the they had the decoder in the display. They're like a little more like taller, and they have a little like bonded on chip, and those because I ran them. Someone gave me this board and I fired it up. It was very bright, but I don't know how it doesn't just melt down to the core of the earth, because it got red hot. It was, like it says, pulling like 25, 30 mils a segment. They must have had like 6 or so dyes in there, screamingly bright. But the heat it was putting out, it was just like, what's the point of it being an LED if it's pulling more current than a light bulb would, and it's not even as bright? So, but yeah, there was that weird transition period between the high voltage, neon Nixie CRT era and the LED era. There's like decades there where all kinds of weird things were put in there, which like these incandescent displays were used strangely late. Like they were still using them like well into the 80s, 90s for a lot of applications, just because if you needed to be able to see a display in daylight, you couldn't do anything. It had to be a bulb, had to be a light bulb.
Exactly. There's other things like this. If you're like, there's a whole like missing decade of movies, like TV shows that were shot on like tape, and they're like in this dead period of where like before that it was film, so everything in the 80s was like all shot on film, so now you can get like 4K Blu-ray transfers of it and all looks gorgeous and everything else. And then like in the 90s, I think 90 to 2000, I think it was pretty much a 90s phenomenon, everything like all TV shows, they were shot on tape at like 570p, or 570 interlaced, so we'll never be able to see anything made in the 90s in Blu-ray or 4K or anything, because it just does not exist. They just HD didn't come along until the 2000s, really, like in recording shows and stuff. So there's all these old TV, people's. I think one of the Star Trek series, if you're into there's like 10 different versions of Star Trek series. I think one of them was shot in the 90s, and it's like all this, like you can't get a HD box set of it because it just doesn't exist. Something like that.
There were a number. I think Star Trek: The Next Generation was shot on film, and I think Deep Space Nine, and I think most of those were shot on film.
Yeah, I watched this doco, and there's one of them. I watched one of them. YouTube thing.
I'm sure there are ones that I haven't seen.
Yep. And so they were just actually produced for TV. Like there was no thought given that there would be these high definition DVD players in the future and stuff like that.
Well, they didn't shoot shows on film because they were thinking about 4K. It was just that it was just easy. It was just the industry.
Easier.
There was a whole industry set up where it was just easier to shoot, because they had, studios were set up to shoot film. There were sound stages for film. So, there were some exceptions to that. Like, was it Desilu, like I Love Lucy, that started shooting on videotape? There were some, that were, very ahead of their time. Ernie Kovacs very famously did everything on videotape instead of using film, which eerily looks weird, because when you look at the Ernie Kovacs shows, they're shot on black and white NTSC videotape. Weirdly, it looks strangely modern, because you're expecting to see a kinescope, but it's 60 field interlaced NTSC. So there's a weird kind of reality. It's like this. What's the word for it? Like a time shock or something. It's like you
Right.
almost you expect it to.
You
It looks
expect
modern.
that, but it's not. Yeah,
It
yeah.
looks real, but it's older. Yeah. So but there are some strange crossovers. I have had some luck with upscaling NTSC stuff because I have Laserdiscs, things like this, and I found that the 1080p upscalers, they tend to, if you have a really clean NTSC source, like if it's a very very high quality source video, it does upscale pretty well. I find. So I don't know. I think some things upscale and some things don't. It all depends on how good the source is. 2-inch quad used to look great, in the old days. 2-inch quad. But I think the problem is that a lot of those shows, they don't have the original 2-inch masters anymore because those would get recorded over. And
Oh,
so what they end
okay.
up with is, 3/4 copies, which were used for syndication, which were like copies of copies of copies. And, you end up with 3/4 cassettes, which were it was sort of the industry VHS,
Right.
it's full NTSC, but it's not like the 2-inch quad, a high definition, fast moving video. There's not too many of those like 2-inch masters that exist, with few exceptions. So the problem with a lot of the videotape stuff is it's like the kinescopes. It's a copy of a copy of a copy. It's not,
Copy. Yeah.
you're getting far away from the original.
We get in some weird topics here. Going back to the displays, like every time I think, oh, you've run out of these unique displays to
No.
show us. No, here comes another
No.
damn video with another display
No,
I've never even seen before.
No,
What the
I
hell?
got boxes in here. They just keep coming out. You find them. I was looking for some. There are some that really I don't think exist. I did a video recently about did the data strobe ever exist? Because whenever I do a video of some new thing, people say, "Oh, Fran, you got to do something on the data strobe." It's like, well, okay, well, I've done all my research and I can't find any evidence that the thing actually existed in real life. So some of these displays that people say, oh, that there's a page, there's an article, so find this. But I'm trying to convince people, well, some of these things were red herrings. They didn't really exist. It was a concept.
Okay. They advertised them in the 60s or whatever. They would put an ad out, but they didn't really have anything. They'll see if they could get any bites. Is that
right? Yeah. Well, the data strobe, there were several articles that were written by people. Oh, it's my talking clock.
Oh.
That was my talking clock in the background. It said 9:00. But there were several articles that were written by people who worked for the company, Raytheon, and so what I could deduce is it was just a PR stunt. They were putting it out there, expecting that if someone at the Navy Joint Operations, or the or the Air Force, someone
wants
with
to order some
4-star said, yeah, we want to use that for the new missile system. They had confidence, said, well, we'll make it work.
Yeah.
If they buy it. So it was just a matter of that. I've never seen any proof that it ever existed. So yeah, I think some of these legendary displays, I think, did not exist outside of prototypes or proof of concept models. But there are a number that I have back here that I'm still going to make videos on this year. So it has not run dry yet.
Oh, the well has not dried up. All right. Fantastic.
Not yet.
And what is the personal fascination with those
I don't know.
displays? You don't know? It's just a thing?
I think the perverse
Everyone's got
curiosity.
their thing. Yep. Everyone's got their niche thing.
Well, it's like you have like multimeters and scopes.
Old multimeters and old test gear, basically. Yeah.
Big Clive has LEDs and things that catch fire. Electro Boom has flammable electronics. But everyone has the thing they're attracted to. But I don't know. I've always had a thing about display technology. And not just displays, but media in general, because behind the scenes, I've spent my life in media, film, videotape. I've actually, I have this telecine set up that I've been trying to get time to, like, I have to clear out a big area to set it up, but I have all these films I was going to transfer, and haven't even gotten around to doing it yet, just because I've been distracted by other projects. But film and audio technologies has always been a big thing. Tape, vinyl, audio, video. So displays kind of fall in there somewhere.
Do you find that you're getting are they getting the views? They're getting the most views or decent views?
No, not really.
I mean, it depends.
It
depends.
Your
keyword, if you're blessed by the algorithm.
Well, the first one, the Nemotube, the first Nemotube video, did very well. The others not so much. I mean, it's a niche thing. Actually, I think my one of the if it isn't number one, it's like number two in the whole channel is the Saturn F1 engine video I did last year. I mean,
right.
that's
well, that's got general appeal,
and
that's got, with the new, as we talked about, the new space thing, it's getting recommended to people. And
I think the only reason that video did so well is I didn't appear in it, so people can't tell how old I am.
Right.
I'm serious.
No, I don't think it matters. No,
it does with because YouTube is analyzing, your age, and then filtering you to the demo. There's a lot in the algorithm about age
category,
yeah,
and things like that.
So I think the reason that
so. If it's space, they're going to recommend it to other space nerds. I think.
No, I'm convinced that the algorithm
is.
I'm convinced. I'm convinced that age is one of the major
interesting
signifiers for content. So that F1 video, there's nothing in the video to suggest my age, and so it kind of fell through the algorithm to get into that millennial space interest surge.
You're right.
But if my craggly 50-something face were in the video, it would get relegated to a little niche corner market. So
I'd love to be able to test something like that, but you can't. It's impossible to get an A/B comparison test on.
Yeah, there's no way to do it scientifically.
Anecdotal, it's yeah.
But it's I just based on my own limited data set of the videos that I've made, there's definitely some weird chicanery in there with content and visibility. For the most part, my channel, it's weird because since my subscribership has gotten over 150,000, my views per video has actually been going down. So my average, because even though I got on 158,000 subscribers, but most of my videos, most of them that I put up, will max out somewhere around 9,000 views or something like that. It's just a tiny little fraction of the subscribership.
5 to 10%. Like if you're getting, you're doing phenomenal if you're getting 20% of your subscribers watch every video. Like that would be, but in our industry, it's 10% is common, unfortunately.
Well, I was thinking about, it's been batted around in our circles for a while, but I'm convinced that if the eYoutubers created their own little network show or something, something like the,
are you talking off of YouTube or on YouTube?
No, I'm talking about on YouTube to right, because in order to guide how skydivers, when they're flying in formation, they all kind of grab each other's hands and form a circle. We got to do something like that of eYoutubers to guide the algorithm to bring in audience to eYoutubing as a thing. Because I think because I think eYoutubing it's regular. I mean, we're at the kiddie table.
Oh yeah,
as
yeah,
far as
yeah.
YouTube goes. And I think the only way that we could get like eYoutubing to be more mainstream is if we were sort of had like a unified like circle of content, so to speak.
Right, but we all do such diverse content and all have such diverse styles, whereas unlike like all the space YouTubers, they're all, I'm not going to say they're all the same, but they all, all the science YouTubers, they're all, you know, they're all kind of doing the same thing. But electronics YouTubers there's just so many different things. You could be doing a circuit design tutorial one week, you could be doing a teardown the next week, you could be, doing some other obscure thing then week after that. So
You're
I
saying
don't
we're
know.
too exciting and interesting
We're
for
too
YouTube.
exciting and interesting. Yes, we're too diverse. YouTube does not like diverse content. YouTube likes to deliver the same content over and over and over again.
That's true. That's
Yep.
true.
It likes
No,
consistency.
it's not about the content per se. It's about the association between different channels to create it within the YouTube algorithm to create an association. Like I said, like the skydivers in a
So
circle.
I wonder if the algorithm knows that we're all the same.
There's a difference between the
really.
algorithm. There's a difference between the algorithm knowing that we're all related and bringing viewership in from outside of the circle.
Yes,
so
right.
if every single YouTuber has their own like cluster of viewers, then bringing all the YouTubers into one circle brings all of those myriad audiences into a focal point algorithm-wise.
Yeah, right.
I'm thinking three-dimensionally. So, thinking of the YouTube algorithm in a three-dimensional construct, I'm thinking that if we can concentrate our audience into one spot, it's like a singularity of like YouTube-em. And so YouTube-em. But it's the only way to trip up the algorithm to move eYoutubing from the kiddie table to somewhere more like where Adam Savage's Tested is. Because like Adam Savage is doing he's doing all kinds of content, making stuff, talking stuff. Sometimes he just answers questions, sometimes he does a build. But his audience is there because YouTube has put him front and center. But the eYoutubers as a group could do the same thing if they collect themselves into their own sphere in YouTube. That would move the eYoutubing world closer to center, more like...
I've got no idea how that would even happen.
I don't know either.
Yep.
Just putting it out there.
It could certainly be possible, but yeah, I don't know. Like everyone says, oh, why don't you collaborate with such and such YouTuber? It's like, well, what are we going to collaborate about?
Yeah, collaboration is difficult. I've tried to do that with with other creators, and it's like,
you did the dinosaur den.
Yeah, I mean, for a while, but that was tough. It was a lot of work, and hardly anybody saw the show, so it was like
So what made it hard? Was it just trying to tee up time together and be in the one place to?
Well, we shot it in Bill's lab, so I had to travel to Jersey to go. So and for every episode there was a lot of homework. I mean, we were doing a show every couple of weeks, and I had to do prep work and everything, and plus for that show I was also doing animation and original music, and it was all the hours put in, and it just didn't take off like we thought it would.
Unfortunate. Yeah. I mean, like I enjoyed that. So yeah, and it just stopped one day. But
it was a lot of work.
Yeah. Yep. I can imagine. So yeah, unfortunately, yes. So all those who ask about, can we collaborate on stuff? It's just I don't know how we'd, I can't come up with a clever idea to.
I don't think it'd be in my what I was thinking of. It wouldn't be collaboration. It's I guess it's hard to define. It's all about YouTube. To get YouTube to associate the eYoutubing channels with one another. So it doesn't have to be collaboration. It can be.
They just have to be pointers, markers, some
It just
sort
has
of.
to be a chain of content that goes in a circle.
It's the 1990s web ring all over again. If you remember the web ring, where you would put down at the bottom of your website, because you had a HTML website back then, you'd join a web ring. So there was an Australian electronics web ring, and I was part of that. I was part of the Australian electronics ring, and the whole idea is that you had a little bar down the bottom of your website, and you would, there was a next button, and it's like you could go to the next person in the ring. Ooh. It's like, yeah, that was Webring. I think they lasted about 5 years and then they died. Nobody did Webrings. That was the thing. I can't believe you haven't heard of Webrings. It was the biggest thing at the time. It was like, yeah, how do you get people to visit your website? Because back then search engines weren't very good. It's like, if you like this content, yeah, here's how you found other similar content. You click the next button, it'd take you to a related website that you couldn't otherwise find. So, yeah.
Yeah, why did they stop doing that?
Equivalent of, it was just, well, websites died as a thing. It was like everyone moved over to, the socials. I guess.
Yeah, well,
I don't know.
Mine are still frozen in time, so.
Yep. Maybe I've got an old website somewhere with a web ring link in it. Like that's about, some 20-year-old website somewhere. Yeah, I'm sure it still exists. I don't know. If anyone's got any good ideas, leave it in the comments down below, please.
I've got a wacky new idea about space-time that I've been working on.
Us. All right. Last thing, we'll have to wrap it up.
Oh, it's going to be too long. It's too long.
No, come on.
It's too long.
You started it. Fran's concept of space-time.
Well,
let's hear it.
I'm coming to doubt my established model for time, and I'm starting to think about it differently than I used to. I'm thinking that time is not necessarily a constant.
Well, it's not. Everyone knows time flies when you get older. It's like,
that's true.
It's the time dilation effect as you get older.
That's true. But in cosmology, it's a little different.
Right.
No, because I think that, the big paradox is that with Hubble, they were able to see into the distant viewable universe. And so the most distant galaxies, I think it's like 13 billion years or something to that effect, is how far we can see back. And when we look at the most distant galaxies and quasars, we see that the redshift is such that it appears as though the very distant universe is accelerating away from us at an incredible rate.
Yep. Which we won't ever catch up with. So the longer we wait, those stars will eventually vanish out of our field of view because they'll be so far away in time.
Right.
That apparently, like in several billion years, we won't be able to see further than several galaxies or something because they're traveling away so fast. That,
possibly.
Yeah,
possibly.
That's one of the theories. I just watched that the other day.
Yeah, but there's another possibility which makes a little more sense than the accelerating universe, and that's if time isn't a constant. Because if time is an illusion,
yes.
Like gravity. I talked about gravity in a video.
Gravity's not really a force, not actually a force. People think it's a force, but technically it doesn't exist as a force. Right,
because there is no opposite to gravity. There is no opposite action to gravity. It's not like but that's because it's in the fourth dimensional realm. So, but time and gravity are both related to the same thing, which is that we only have time because when the universe, after the Big Bang, the universe is expanding in all directions, not just our 3 dimensions, but also into the 4th dimension. So we have time because space is also expanding into the 4th dimension at the speed of light. Gives us our cosmic speed limit, speed of light. It's also why, with gravity, is also why nothing with mass can travel at the speed of light, because
yes,
mass has to exist in time, and time only began when gravity and mass precipitated out of the early universe. In the early universe, it was just energy. And after the universe cooled to the point where matter could
form, matter
could develop, then when matter came about, energy was converted into mass. And when mass entered the universe, gravity entered the universe, and time started. So, but I think that it's very possible that time, in the early universe, time was moving a lot faster than it is now. Because as soon as mass formed out of energy, gravity would start putting the brakes on the expansion of space. And if that were the case, then time would start to slow down because the expansion of the universe into the fourth dimension would also be slowing down. So when we're looking at those very distant objects, like 13 billion years ago, when those photons were created, time was running at a much faster clock. So those photons are still moving through space, and now they're moving through a space where time is slowed down. So the frequencies become so stretched that they look like they're accelerating away from us at a terrible speed.
Concept.
But those distant objects are not as far away as they appear, and they're not moving away from us. In fact, if gravity is putting the brakes on cosmic expansion, and if time is slowing down, then what would happen is eventually time would start getting slower and slower, and the expansion would be getting slower and slower to the point where time would eventually stop. And when after that, gravity would begin to take over, and time would be running backwards as the universe would come to eventually a big crunch. And then the inertia of all of that compression would convert the universe back from mass to
energy, right?
To another singularity, and then the energy would become so concentrated in such a small spot that it would again burst into a completely new realm with a completely new realm list of possibilities, and another universe that can be based on any kind of principle, any kind of matter or energy, and not at all like this one, not even like with matter as we understand it. But I think that when time runs backwards, it would not be like time travel. It's not like the universe as we know it would play in reverse like a record.
Hang on, someone's at the door. I've got a courier at the door. 1 second.
We have someone at the door. Someone is at the door. Dave Jones is answering the door.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
Someone is saying hello to Dave Jones. Dave Jones is returning to the show.
I'll edit that one out. She's been talking behind my back. All of my multimeters turned up, so you might have actually seen my courier guy deliver boxes. No, there's a little.
No.
Anyway, I've got like 10 boxes of multimeters out there. So
anyway, I've solved the whole problem.
You've solved the whole thing.
The theory of everything. But gravity and time are related in that way.
Interesting. I can see I can see where your thoughts go in there. The interesting thing is you may not be able to measure it because time is the most accurate thing that we can measure.
Right.
I believe like of all the quantities, time is the most thing we can measure with the maximum resolution.
Right. We measure time because we measure light, the speed of light. But here's the thing about my model. The speed of light never changes.
Mm-hmm.
Even throughout the entire universe, throughout all time periods of the universe, the speed of light is always the same.
Yep.
But speed, it's distance over time.
Time, yes.
So if time changes, the speed of light is always constant. But time slows down. And because time is always relative, you can measure time very accurately wherever you are, whenever you are. But there's absolutely no way but the only way that you can know what time was in the past is by looking at the light that was produced.
Yes. Right. Whoa, this is heavy.
And I think that those dramatic, unexpected redshifts are due to a change in the time constant, not in speed.
Not in speed. Are you going to do a video on this? Well, you already have.
I already have.
There we go. You just did. Fran,
your
we can
comments.
actually we can break this one out. You can just break that out as your own thing. Here's my thoughts on space time. That might get 1 million views. Who knows?
I'll accept my inductance into the Royal Society for this one.
Oh yes, and because to beat the algorithm, don't have your face on there. Put like really trippy, graphicy, spacey, traveling distant through space as you're talking over.
Well, you've
the top
got the
of
video. You're gonna have to do that, Dave, because you've got the video.
I can send you the video. I can send you a copy of.
No one is gonna watch this on my channel. You should put it on your channel.
Fran's trippy space-time continuum. I'll put some wanky and some melodic background music as well. Some little subtle
Do I have to write the music as well? Do I have to do the music?
Maybe. We can make that. Maybe that'd be an experiment. Can we make a space-time video that goes viral?
Yeah. Well, like I said, my F1 video, it's like 500,000 views.
Yeah.
In 6 months.
Yep. Wow. That's more than any of my videos have ever gotten.
Not that it's helped my channel any, but people watch that video. So yeah, if you've got the right thumbnail, and if you can make it interesting enough in the first 20 seconds that people don't hang up, you got a chance.
Right. I'll have to see what we can do.
All
right. Well, we've done an hour and a half. Thank you very much, Fran, for joining us.
It's not our record. It's not even close.
No, it's not even close. But we do try and keep
We're about an hour short of the amp hour record of Blab.
Because this is an amp hour, but a video version, hopefully, if this all saved correctly, will be available on EEV blog too. So, yep, I'll go edit that now. So thanks, Fran.
Okay, thanks.
Catch you next time.
Bye.